I've got an associate that I work with sometimes. He owns a tree service and he's been in business for 25 years. I don't know him real well, but I was talking to him just the other day and I asked him, I said, so how long has it been since you've been in a saddle? And he replied to me something that kind of shocked me. He says, he's never climbed. He's never been in a saddle. He doesn't know how to prune trees. He hires people and they do all the work for him, but he doesn't really know what it's like to be up in a tree. And that got me to thinking. I thought, I couldn't work that way. Maybe it's me. And it got me to thinking about, well, why am I in business in the first place? Why did I become an arborist? Well, it certainly wasn't to make money. It was because it was a field that I wanted to become a better climber in and be able to work outdoors and find the job satisfaction. And of course the money is important because that's how I support myself and take care of my family. It's a matter of pride. When I finish a tree and I look up at the tree that I just trimmed and I check it all out and I look for any mistakes, any spots that I missed, any branches that are too heavy, and I say to myself, I did good. I go home feeling very, very proud of myself for what I accomplished. If my crew does it, I'm happy with them, sure. But that personal satisfaction, that's what's so important to me. And I do okay. I'm not getting rich by any means. But this guy, his whole attitude about his business was business is business. And I couldn't quite understand that. So I don't know about how some of you guys out there run your businesses and how things go, but I'm a strong believer that if you're going to learn a trade and be able to talk to your clients about the trade, you should know how to do it. You really should know what you're doing. I have to ask myself, this guy doesn't understand the strengths and weaknesses of limbs because he's never been up on them. He just relies on his crew to tell him what is safe and what's not safe, and he takes their word for it, and he relays that information to his clients, and they believe him, and he gets away with it, and I guess he does okay at it. I just can't do it. I could not run my business that way. I'm proud to call myself an arborist, and I believe strongly in my heart that if you call yourself an arborist, you have to work with trees. You have to at least touch trees. You have to inspect trees. You've got to be able to, do root crown excavations. You've got to look at cavities. And I really believe that you've got to get up in the tree. So if this is a field that you're thinking about heading into, I strongly advise you to get up in the trees and learn how to climb first. My advice, take it for what it's worth. I've got a limb failure here, and what I want you to notice is there are no defects. This is all sound wood. So you have to ask yourself, why did this branch break if there wasn't a defect down here? Well, let's take a look at the tree. It's a very significant liquid amber tree. And this tree has been pruned many, many times in the past. So let's take a look at the individual branch right here. This branch is heavy enough to have damaged a car. I think they got pretty lucky. But this limb, it looks like about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, was cut off harsh here, maybe 10 years ago. And those hard cuts result in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional branches. So I went ahead and cut this up and cleared the space, and I talked him into letting me do a quick trim, at least over the driveway, because there are branches ready to break everywhere. I can see branches that are bending over. That one over the house is ready to break. Lots of decay pockets. There's a limb hanging up in the tree up there. I see where the break is up high. Everywhere you look, you can see evidence of where this tree was cut back hard. And there's a good spot right there. You can see where it was cut back to a stub, and now there's multiples coming out, and all that mass is developing the liquid amber balls. It's heavy over there. There's one limb that's hanging out over the driveway. This is all a direct result of past hard pruning. And it wouldn't surprise me if the tree was topped. We'll see when I get up there. Yeah, everything is super heavy.
You know, I had a commenter make a statement to me the other day. He said, you probably get a lot of people that just click away from this channel because there aren't that many people who are really interested in learning about trees. And I had to think about it, and I thought, you know, that's probably true, because the emphasis of my channel is talking about unique problems with trees for people who really want to learn more about trees. So if you're part of this group that likes to learn as much as you possibly can, this channel is for you. What I got here is a red oak, and red oaks are not native to the West Coast. They're an East Coast tree, and this tree has clearly been cut back hard in the past. And topping and hard pruning is something that I want to really emphasize in this channel because the long-term results are devastating. This is an interesting job that I got into. I actually worked with another company on this one. There were so many trees that I contracted with another company to do the job with me, and they worked really hard. I was very, very impressed. There were 6 of these massive big live oaks that had completely died from the sudden oak death, the Phytophthora ramorum. And it is devastating where I live because there are so many dead and dying trees. And this is actually in a residential area. It's part way up the hill, so there's a lot of woodlands around here. But look at the size of these trees. That one was across a little ravine here, so we had to build somewhat of a bridge to carry the stuff across. The job, like I said, the job went well. There was 6 guys working on this, and they ended up just muscling everything across. My crew is not that large. You know, there's only 3 of us right now. I've got a couple of guys that have COVID-related issues. My son has young children that are in school, and it's too hard for him to be at work and manage the kids, so he is still stationed at home, so to speak. So because this job was so large, I brought in a buddy of mine and his guys, and they pulled it off. They did really, really well. But I got to say that looking around the area, there are so many other trees that are in trouble. There was probably 40 live oaks right above this grouping that was on the border of the 2 properties, and every single one of those trees had been topped repeatedly to maintain the view for the neighbors. So that's what I was talking about. With topped trees, you end up with a lot of long-term top tree problems. It was interesting working with these guys because, you know, I don't do things the way they would do it. A lot of interesting characters on this job. Getting close to Halloween. I got an old tractor. We got an old farmer. And there's yet another tractor. And there's the farmer's wife. Anyway, there was a little bit of Halloween humor there. Here is the job that we worked on yesterday. Here's the tree that I worked on. This is Bradford Pear. I talk about them a lot. And this was a very, very wide-spreading tree. And it also had been topped many times, but it also has the inherent Bradford Pear problems of tight crotches. So what I'm recognizing here is a high likelihood of a future split. You can almost read the split line in there, the tightness of the crotch. And as each of these limbs gets bigger and bigger and closer, just the sheer pressure of the growth forces it to split apart. So I looked up there and I thought, you know, first off, it's much too close to the house. And I didn't want to retop the tree, but I'm almost thinking that maybe that's the best choice for this tree. I must emphasize, I'm not an advocate for topping trees, but a lot of times when you have a tree that has been topped in the past and you don't really have many options, sometimes that's the best choice. While it's never the right thing for the tree, sometimes it's right for the mistake or the bad situation. That's interesting. Look at that mark above this cut. That guy was a little bit reckless with his chainsaw, whoever it was in the past, as well as these cuts. So there were so many wounds in the tree that were quite harsh. So I went through, look at that wound. That's an old hard cut. I went through and I took out quite a few fairly significant sections of some of these trees. They had one of these roofs that was made out of some sort of synthetic concrete material, and I had to be very, very careful not to drop anything on the roof. There you can see I took off quite a few big limbs, and I carried on, took off more over on the left side. So at the end of the job, I actually brought the homeowner out here and talked with him. There's an example of a big top cut up there. And I told him that maybe the next time we should, cut this tree back really severely. So finally, on the same job, there are some strawberry trees. These are members of the Arborist family, which are related to the madrones. And I want you to look at the pruning from this tree. It's nothing but dead wood. That one over there, we haven't started it yet, but they're really in trouble. Arborist is a species that have a lot of problems. I'm likely Botrytis faria. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate your support.